and welcome back to my workshop journey. And today, yes, we are in midwinter, but it's a beautiful sunny day here in Shirebrook, and apart from the birds twittering away, I can't hear anything outside, so it's ever so peaceful. That's soon going to be shattered, of course, because I'm going to be doing some routing today. But if you remember, last time we were looking at the UJK guide system for cutting tracks, and one of the guides that I was getting the hang of was the slot jig. And so I was setting everything up last time, and so today it's actually going to be, pardon the pet phrase, using it in anger. So let's get set up and then we can start cutting these slot dovetails, the sliding dovetails for the kitchen shelf. So the workpiece is clamped down, that's not going to move, and that's the main guide for the straight. I haven't attached it to the workpiece yet because I want to just get a rough idea of where the slot jig needs to go first. So the lens, you might not be able to see it, but inside it has, you might just about be able to see it. It has a center line, and then perpendicular it's got two other lines as well. So I'm going to be using that to align with the workpiece, which is, that's the slot center line that I'm going to be working with. So that's just a case of making sure that the center line on the lens is actually on the line that I'm going to be working with, which is about there. Now I'll micro adjust that in a minute, so that's just a case of now attaching that firmly. That's not going to move, and that needs to go that way just a tad. So let me just a little bit too much. There we go, and lock that off. So that's the centre of the cut. That's only going to move about 2 millimeters, and that's going to be fine. We set all that up last time, and let me just move the lens out of the way so I don't lose it. And then it's a case of, oh no, I need the lens, don't I? Because I've got the end of the slot is just there, which is, just to remind myself, that's about 8 millimeters from the edge. So make sure that's in the right position, and then just move the stop slightly. Oops. And I must have tightened this Allen key off Allen nut off last time, so slacken that, and just so that's on the edge, but I want it to come back slightly, because when the cutter moves in, I don't want the cutter to be coming past there. If I just stop it there, the cut will come past. So I really want to, that's the lens on that stop line, which corresponds here on this scale to the 4.7 centimetre mark. So I want to move it, I'm going to move it, I can come back to it, I'm going to move it 3 millimetres to there, and then lock that off. That won't move. Okay. And that's, just check. And what I'm going to do actually, so it doesn't, the jig doesn't slip off the workpiece and tip, what I'm going to do is get the second stop and put it just here. Now the cutter will be well past the workpiece, so that will just stop everything tipping and just helps to keep everything nice and steady. Okay, so I'm going to be coming from that direction. That's that. That's the vacuum. The power to the vacuum is on. The dust extraction is in place. The power to the router is in place. So, put my ears on. And so keep it far enough away at the moment. Right, so move that out of the way, and there's the slot. It's just come down to the stop line, so that was a good judge of distance for there. Let me just check the width. So that is 11.4, and that is 11.35. That's not, I'm not going to argue with that one. Right, so that's the nice slot width. Let me just test the depth. Bang on 10 millimeters. Bang on 10 millimeters. That's nice. Okay, So all of the setting up last week was really worth it. Let me turn the workpiece round, and this time I'm going to have to cut this direction. Right, so same procedure. I just want to set the rough jig placing first. And then I can micromanage it. That's firm, and to be honest, that is, no, it needs to come back slightly. There we are. Tighten that up. So that's solid. Now then, set the stop. That's that. And then I want to come 3mm that way. So that's 15. At the moment it's on 15.2, so let's make it 14.9. There we go, that's that one. Now that's interesting. That will need to come right out to about there. So no, I can't use that, so I will just have to be very careful. Okay, but that's in nicely. So again, I'm pulling it this way. So keep it firmly against the stop at that end, then when I get to this end, pull it toward me and reverse. Okay. There we are. Let's just clear that out. And slot width. Now I can see here there is a kink where it drifted, so what I'm going to have to do, I think, is just recut that slightly, because this end it's 12mm, but just here it is only just under 10, so yes, I am going to have to recut that. Never mind. That's the whole idea of this. But this time I will cut it at this side and then come back. Oh, that's interesting. That needs tightening up because that was drifting as well. Okay. That looks a better slot. So width is about 12, but at least this is now a consistent 12, and the depth of course is the same because that hasn't changed. Right, move that out of the way. And we have two consistent sliding dovetail slots that are a nice depth. Okay, the next thing is, using the same cutter, I'm going to cut the slots on the two wall brackets, and again I've marked on it the centre line. That's where the slot will stop, but I can't use this arrangement on these because it's too small. So what I'm going to do is set up the fence and work from the fence with a stop on that. The cutter's in the bench router, and all I'm going to do now is adjust its height so that I can recreate this cut on the two shelves. So that's a case of just making sure the height is just touching. A bit too high. There we go. That's that. Now set up the fence, because what I'm going to be doing is cut it. There's the stop line there, and I'm going to be cutting that direction, and so I need to make sure where the centre line is, then I can make all the necessary adjustments there. So there's the stop line. I really want the cutter to be on this nearest edge to you, so that's there. So that's the stop line. Just there. Which means that's where the stop needs to be. But I've just realised this piece of timber for the stop is not quite long enough, because that will slide underneath. Right, so what I've done is just screwed a piece of MDF onto the face of the stop, and that will just mean nothing will get past it. Okay, let's redo where I need to put things. That's that. Right, so that's not going to move. That's solid. Right, now all I've got to do is position the fence, and so the width, just to double check, the width is 61, so 30.5 is halfway. Hey, my maths are getting better. 30.5 is there. And I'm going to be cutting this direction, so that bit is not going to be cut at all. That's halfway. That's where the line is. Right. 30.5. Is there. Let's just see where the centre point of the cutter is. Right. So that's there. Tighten those off. Just under 12. I might only need one pass. So the stop's there, and it's going to stop there. There's the stop. And of course, what I want to do, sorry, kicking the tripod, is make sure that nothing moves. Right, I've put the feather board to hold it down, this featherboard is to stop it moving away from the fence. Scrap piece of wood just to test everything. So let me switch the vacuum on. So the depth is actually 9mm, so that's going to have to increase. So the depth let's try that one. And I've noticed the vacuum wasn't working again, so that's a case of it's come out of the bottom. Right, let's try another cut. So this depth is 9 3/4, so it just needs to move slightly more, but at least the vacuum was working this time. There we go. So now the depth is bang on 10mm, that's good. And let me just check the stop. The stop line on the bracket is there. There's the stop cut, and that's roughly where I want it, so I can adjust it should I need to. In fact, I'll just move it very slightly. There we go. That'll be fine. Right, we're all ready to go to cut the actual slots. Right, 2 slots, stopping right on the mark, and the width is 9mm. So that needs a little widening, but you'll notice, well, you would have seen the jagged way that it was cutting to start with, so that needs to be redone just to make sure everything is hunky-dory. So let's redo that. Just to make it, give it one last pass. That's a much smoother cut on both pieces. So to widen that slightly, I just need to adjust one end of the fence just to move it ever so slightly. And what I'll do is get the test piece, just to see how this widens it all out. Now that has taken it from 11.5, sorry, 9.5 to 9 3/4, so it does actually need a little bit more. So that's now 10mm. And because I want the whole thing to be consistent, so I only need to adjust the fence once for all of the dovetails. I've got to increase it to about 11.5mm. That currently is 10, So still got to go a little way more. That's 11, so we're nearly there. That's 11 and a quarter. Eleven and a half. I'll just take one more. And this is 11.6. That's fine, I'm going to leave it at that. So now let's recut the brackets. And that width now is 11 and a quarter. Eleven. So I'm now confident enough just to move that slightly. .3, that will do. Let's put the second one in. There we go, and that one should be the same. Yep, good. So now I've got 2 wall brackets with the dovetail slot, which means all I need to do now is cut the other half of the joint. So the width of the shelf support is 17, about 17.6, 17 and a half, call it. So because I'll be cutting both sides together, I need to take 11 and a half off the 17 and a half, so that's 6 millimeters, halve it, so because I'm going to be taking stuff off both sides, so 3 millimeter is the depth of the cut, roughly. So I've got a depth gauge, and that's roughly where it is. So at the moment that is 1, 2, that's about 4 millimeters. Now of course I'm going to be testing all of this with a scrap piece of wood, and let's tighten that up. And then I can have a test go. And that's the way that it's going to go. I want to make sure nothing moves, so let's put the featherboard there. Okay, so that's the test piece. So across the top is 10.5. Let's just test the depth. It shouldn't be any different other than 10 millimeters. Yep. Because I haven't adjusted the height at all. So that first test there, let me just redo that. That's 10.5. So it does need to move ever so slightly at this one end. And the second pass has given me 11. No, I actually took it the wrong way, didn't I? It needed to come this way slightly. So this time it needs to come toward me slightly. Right. So this width is 11.5. That's just about right. That's a bit sloppy, so it needs to come out a bit more. Where's the shelf? That's quite sloppy. So now we know which way we're going. Let's have another go. A nice fit on that one. So I might have to cut each one slightly differently, just to take account of the slight variations in slot width. But if, as it is set now, it cuts and fits this part of the shelf. Let me just double check. Yes, that is a nice firm fit. So I will cut this one and that's so I will make it that piece there. So I will cut that, and I better just make a note of which piece is which. So let's call this A, and that is A. There we go. I'm a little nervous about this because that is actually about 1 millimetre thicker than the actual workpiece. So I think what I better do, a scrap piece of the oak, I better just check that on a scrap piece of the actual wood, just to make sure. Because of course once you've cut one of these you cannot go back and redo it. So that thickness is actually 11 millimetres. That's far too slack on that one. That is a firm fit on that one. So if anything, that's slot B. That's a bit too tight yet. And that's tight as well. So as it's set, that will be slot B. And so that's part A. I'll call this part B. Right. Now I'm confident about cutting this. There we go. A nice tail. And that should go in nicely. There we go. And of course I'll just tidy that up later on, just to square everything off. But that one goes in nicely. Let me readjust for slot A. Right, continuing practice cuts just to make sure that this is the right width. This is 11. This is going to be a very time consuming piece. That's much too sloppy. That's at least 1.5 millimeters. So Okay, after quite a few trials with varying pieces of scrap wood, because I'm short of a piece that is actually wide enough, that fits into slot A. So what I'm going to do is take the bull by the horns and cut the proper piece and hope it works. There we go. So there we go. And yes, that is a nice fit. Okay. Try not to bruise the wood, of course. There we go. So slot A, slot B are cut. I'm now going to repeat the process. Let's call that slot C, and that one slot D. And slot A. See if slot A will fit into C. No, nor will it fit into slot D. So on both, the actual width at this bottom end is that's 14.6, and that width there is 16 exactly. So that needs to come back toward me slightly. I'm getting quite nervous about this. Let's try. So that width is 16. I'm getting confused. I'm going to have to call it a day there. The last thing I want is to overcut because I can't put wood back. I'm getting very confused as to which way the fence is meant to go for a narrower or a broader cut. I've been on it quite some time today and I'm getting myself very confused, so I'm going to call it a day and we'll come back to slots C and D next time. But at least I've got 2 of the tails cut. I've just got to work out where to put the other 2 for the correct width. But thanks for your patience with me this afternoon. I know for some of you this is a painful look at what I'm going through, but I'm very grateful for your support and I'm thankful for your comments and everything else that goes into this channel, and I'll see you next time.